ahead, ask anybody who has seen me trying. I'm not going. If it seems like I did, I'm probably waiting outside. Such a stubborn man, you'll likely never meet.
Hi, and welcome to episode 10 of West End Talks. Can't believe we're into episode 10, yes, Joel. So today we have our special guest today for our 10th episode is Joel Montague. Now, some of you remember him as Ogie from Waitress, and others will know him as Mendo from Falsettos. So welcome, Joel. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, mate. Does that mean it's like the 10th anniversary? I'm here for the 10th.
It is. It's like 10. I can't believe I'm to 10 episodes.
Well, my birthday is the 10th of January. So
there we go.
There we are.
So my grand's the 10th of January too. A few years between you. What, you 21?
Yeah, correct.
She's only 30, so it's fine. She's a few years between you. But thank you very much for joining us. We'll get started. We'll get right in there. First two questions that we've got, or the first couple of questions, is just ones that we ask everybody, just about you, so about Joel rather than anything that you've done. So the first question is just what got you into performing arts?
I mean, I always say this is a short answer, and it's always a little bit long-winded, but I'll try and do the short version, which is pretty simple. My mum and my auntie have a dancing school in Crewe, Cheshire, where I grew up.
Right.
I trained there as a kid for years. Then, did various pantos and show. I never really did any sort of pro shows when I was younger. I was never like Gavoshe and Les Mis or anything. And there was a little bit of me that always sort of regrets that I never auditioned for something like that. I used to do quite a bit of TV when I was younger. I was quite cute. What happened?
I don't like that.
I was very like, I always had a little bit. Do you remember? You might not remember a program called Just William.
Yes.
Like that sort of cute little schoolboy. I was just I was very tiny compared to like now I'm like a rugby player. But I was always quite a tiny kid. So I performed quite a bit when I was younger. Then obviously I sort of sang in a choir, so I knew I could sing. And then I started acting like everyone else, sort of at high school and doing school plays and school musicals and stuff. And then I went to Guildford. But sort of my inspirations, apart from my own family that do, was probably sort of like Gene Kelly, Fred Astaire, and then probably Michael Jackson, because I know it's all controversial, but I can't lie, he was the reason I wanted to perform. I thought he was amazing. So yeah, that's kind of how I started.
No, it's good to know that you had family inspirations, but also inspirations from other people as well. Like you see Gene Kelly and Michael Jackson, which, forget the controversy, he was a performer. He was a fantastic performer. Yeah. Like, his singing and the performing skills were second to none, no matter what you think of the controversy. So what was your first role? Your first kind of professional role?
Oh, right. So when I left Guildford, I did. What was I doing? I did swing in Billy Elliot. I was a swing in Billy Elliot. I was there for 2 years. That was kind of how I started, really.
So straight into West End, just it's fine. No point in taking the short road. Just go straight, straight into West End.
Tell me about it. It was amazing. It was such an opportunity, and I'll never really forget that show because it was my first show. It was my first job, my first professional job, and I've been very lucky. Like, as much as a lot of us are talented, I don't deny that I'm not a talented guy, but then there's a lot of talented people. I'm not the only one. There's loads of us. There's thousands of us that could step into each other's shoes. And I think being in a community where you have that, you long to be better. You long to be stronger. So it was a very, very special job for me, Billy Elliot.
Billy Elliot's a classic. And it's certainly for your first role, I'm at the Victoria Palace.
Crazy.
It was Victoria Palace, wasn't it?
Victoria Palace, yeah.
Yeah,
Hamilton is now.
Yeah, so it was to say, I'm in the cast of Billy Elliot. No matter who you played or what you did, you were still in the cast for your first job. That's great. That's a fantastic job.
I was very lucky.
So now comes the painful bit, and the bit that West End Talks don't hold any responsibility over. It's the questions from fans.
Oh, okay. Oh, God.
Okay?
Yeah.
So we apologise in advance. No, I don't think there's anything that bad. So the first question comes from a girl called Eugene, and she asks, quite a good one actually, She asks, if you had to pick one Waitress and one Falsettos character to be isolated with, which would you pick and why?
Oh, that's so.
Make it hard that it can't be Mendo or Ogie, because you played them, so that's easy.
Okay, so it can't be the
No,
character.
they're easy. They're easy out answers.
Okay, I would. Oh wow,
That's only question one.
it's quite tricky. Trina is going to have to be Trina because. I mean, I don't know because you always picture the people that play it as well, and to be stuck with Laura Pulford for in isolation, I just had the best. Mind you, though, in saying that, the whole Falsettos cast, all of them were just a dream. But as a character, Trina definitely because she's so sporadic. But then, actually, if you wanted more fun, you'd probably pick Cordelia because she was more the fun character out of all of them, I'd say.
The characters, definitely.
She was the most vibrant. And then Waitress. Oh, who out of Waitress? I think it'd have to be Becky, just because she was funny and sassy, and I love that. I mean, when you say who you play, I always pick Dawn, but to actually be in a space with. Probably Becky, and whether it was Sandra or Marisha playing Becky, definitely Becky.
Yeah, whoever it is, Becky as a character is fantastic. But yeah, with Dawn, I think Dawn's a great character. Forget who plays her. Like I'm not talking actress, I'm talking character. Dawn's a great character. But I think to be locked up with her,
she'd annoy the hell out of me.
Yes,
she'd annoy me.
100%.
I love her, but I'd be like, you annoy me now.
Go,
Do you know what I mean?
Go and sit in another room.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Go and have some time to yourself. But no, I agree with Becky. I've got to say, Becky, or Jenna to a certain extent as well, because she can bake pies.
Well, I don't need that person in my life right now.
No, I don't think any of us do.
I mean, self-isolation, I'm like, listen, I can't deal with this right now. It's just too much.
Definitely. So good answers, yes. I think there could be a lot of laughter today. I can feel it coming. Sam asks, so moving on, Sam asks, do you have any pre-show rituals?
No, none. I don't believe in them. I don't condone anyone that does. I just think getting into a habit of things like that, if something goes wrong, you'll blame it on something. And I don't believe in that. I think it has to be very much, whatever happens. I can't, otherwise you latch onto things, Graham. Like you go, oh, well, if I've not turned around 3 times and, touched that piece of wood on the doorway before I come through, it's stupid. It's silly things.
Good answer.
Anyone that does sort of like definitive warm-ups and stuff, that's different because you're technically warming yourself up. So, people can have things like that, but not really. The only ritual that me and David Hunter used to have on Waitress was pretty much play FIFA until we walked on stage. So, I mean, that's actually the truth. So we used to
believe that between you and David, I've got to say.
Solid FIFA the whole time, and we'd at least get through 2 or 3 games a show. We loved it. We were like, this is brilliant.
And who was always the best one?
Do you know what? Funny enough, I was start off with Dave hadn't played for it because Dave's got 2 young kids. So David hasn't got like a PlayStation. I'm still sad and single and lonely. So I was like, I've got a PlayStation. It's cool. I'm bringing it in. He was like, yes, definitely felt like a 14, 15-year-old kid again. And then me and him just became like Joey and Chandler and friends. It was just like that. So what was actually quite nice is I think because David and Joe got on so well, because they did all like little Joe's videos together.
Yeah,
ours was FIFA. Our sort of thing was FIFA. So I kind of felt like it was nice because I knew David before anyway, but what was sort of hard is I saw how well they got on. And I knew that I was going to have to fill those shoes off stage as well as on stage because that's so important in a show. And then me and Dave just found the mutual. He was like, "You're bringing PlayStation, brilliant." And we sometimes used to stay over lunch breaks, whatever we do, and we'd just be like playing. We couldn't wait.
Yeah,
we literally couldn't wait.
So you can blame FIFA if you ever at stage door, guys, and Joel didn't come out.
Oh yeah, we'd be playing FIFA. We'd probably get takeout and play FIFA. We're not even sorry. I wasn't sorry about it. We had a season to finish. It's far more important, guys. I'm sorry.
Okay, very controversial between Michael Jackson and then you not complaining about not sorry about Doors.
Listen,
I'm liking this chat. So Claire, she asks, who was harder to play, Mendel or Ogie?
Mendel, definitely. Mendel, Mendel, because I played him within 2 weeks, Graham. Like, I'd learned the show. I think kind of everyone, I played Mendel in Falsettos, but everyone forgets the way that I went into that show. It wasn't, I don't know if everyone knows it, but I was actually on a plane. I was on a plane on my way to go to America, to go to Florida with my family and my mum's dancing school. They dance out there a couple of times, once every 2 years. They dance out there. So normally I just like go as a teacher because I'm like, it's great. It's a holiday. I get to go to Disney. What more do I want in my life? Nothing.
Definitely, yeah.
So I'm like on the plane, can't believe my luck, waiting to go and see Mickey Mouse. We then get we're with Thomas Cook, so don't even get me started. And then during the flight, the pilot came over the tunnel and said, we're going to have to turn back around and land back in Manchester because it's a technical fault with the plane. And long story short, we landed, and as we landed, my phone just blew up, like with the director. So the director, Tara Overfield Wilkinson, is a good friend of mine. So she was trying to ring me, my agent was trying to ring me, because originally it was between me and Matt. I actually auditioned for Marvin originally. And then Tara said, she saw me more as a Mendel, and I was like, okay, fine, absolutely fine to do that. And then it was kind of like it was just obviously Matt had to leave the show for his reasons. Will you come and do it? And the flight then got delayed to the next day, and I was like, I am not waiting here. I'm like, this is a sign. This is obviously a clear sign. If the flight was then to just touch and go off again, I would have said no. But because we got off the plane, I felt like friends. I got off the plane. Do you know what I mean?
There's no left phalange.
Yeah, there's no left phalange. Get off the plane. You know what I mean? Like that sort of thing. And what was quite funny actually is when I got into the rehearsal room, I've known quite a few of those guys. Funny enough, the only one that I'd not worked with two of them. I'd not worked with Laura Pulford, and I'd not worked with Natasha O'Brien. But me and Matt McKenna had auditioned together loads. So I knew Matt from Billy Days years ago when Matt was in Rock You. Me and Daniel Boys did a Tommy concert with David Hunter, funnily enough. So that's when I worked with Daniel. Me and Ollie had always been in auditions, obviously not for the same role. I'm always up for the pretty boy roles. He's always up for the ugly ones, as you can tell.
Definitely that, yes.
But me and Ollie were always we always knew each other. He's very good friends with Matt Seaton-Young, who I was in Urinetown with, so that's also Ollie. Gemini Jones had done Sister Act with, and Tash Barnes had done Funny Girl with. And essentially, when it was getting to the point where they sort of knew Matt was leaving, apparently 3 of them had suggested my name, which I thought was not only an honour, but just crazy that I was in their brain to play Mendel. I just think but Mendel was he was so complex as well. Like, and to try and sort of go in and play a psychiatrist that's Jewish, that, is surrounded by so many problems, and then effectively with the story kind of ends up having to sort of counsel himself, obviously not within any of the songs, but with the situation, it was just a lot to be thrown into. And I kind of feel like, well, to be honest, criticism's criticism, but anyone that did have any criticism, I was always like, listen, dude, I learned this in 2 weeks. That was hard enough. So, you criticize my performance as much as you want, but for all you can do is your best. And I gave it my best shot. And hopefully people were, which, a lot of Falsettos were, they loved Mendel.
There was a lot of love for Mendel, that's definite.
Yeah, it was. I mean, someone did say something about like how I think Mendel came across quite aggressive. And I was like, I just found that really interesting, because aggressive was never, I always find, not as in to say they were wrong, but I always find it how sometimes when you're an actor and you're playing a character, how some things can come across and that word has never even entered your brain. Like
it's not something I ever thought about.
No, but I always find that interesting, because obviously you can't change the way that you perform. The beats that you're hitting and the moments that you're playing, you can't really change because that's the way you've been directed, or that's the way that it feels in the scene, or whatever it is. And so when people sort of describe your performance, but completely differently, it just makes theatre exciting, because that's why it's all based on opinion. It is so much based on opinion,
Definitely. No, it definitely is. That's a strange one. I've never seen, because I saw the show a few times and absolutely loved it. And it was much needed. Like, we'll get into that slightly more later on with how much it was actually needed. But certainly from my point of view, it was much needed in the stories it told.
It was a shame that it never went. Well, I don't know if it does have legs to go further. Carry on your point, and we'll get onto that in a second.
No, it's all right. No. You're the one that's in charge. You're the star. So just moving on to the next question, because we will come to that, and there's a question about that later on, about how it was needed and legs and things like that we can come to. So Chloe, she asked, did you ever receive any advice off of the previous Ogies? Have you spoke to any of the...
No, not really. I mean, I think I never met Blake. Me and Blake were completely in different areas of the year, so we didn't.
Yeah.
Obviously, I crossed over with Joe, and I don't, and I say this with the greatest respect. I don't think Joe would feel comfortable giving other actors.
No, I can't.
When it's sort of his first musical and his first experience. Me and Joe did do a crossover where I just followed him. It's called Shadowing, where I shadowed his show. Just the loveliest guy. So lovely. So kind. Was like, mate, have the best time. And I was like, oh, thank you. And then, I watched him from the wings, and he was fantastic, and the audience loved him. And that's the best thing about Ogie. And then I met Jack McBrayer when I first came to watch the show. I knew David, obviously, and I knew Stephen Leask. I did School of Rock with Stephen Leask. So I was just at the door, just had a chat to them, and Jack came over, and we had a little bit of a chat, and Jack is just the most nicest man. But at that time, I hadn't got a clue that I would ever... No,
you at that point, yeah.
That was just before I was about to go and do Guys and Dolls in Paris. So it was before Falsettos as well. So Falsettos and Waitress are sort of going to kick me back into overdrive again, really. I just think people have got me on the mind for certain characters, which is a really lovely place to be, I guess. Well, not now, because it's literally like Corona's hit and the whole theatre land has just gone, we're not doing it anymore. Great, cool. So...
Thanks. It'll be back. The lights will come back on.
They'll be back in 2028. It's fine.
I can assure you, I will say this on camera, I will say it in recording, right? If it's 2028, I'll have broken into a theatre and stood on a stage for that point. Okay? I will tell you.
I think we all have done. But we won't be able to fit in our costumes anymore.
I do, that's it. I'm not a performer, but I'm a fan of that. You'll just see me at 2028. You all come back in, and I'll just be sitting in the front row, having been there for 5 years. Come on. No, it'll be, sooner than we all think. It'll be back, don't worry. So no, you mentioned there briefly about you're an international star. We saw that. Well, you've been to Paris.
Yes, I did Guys and Dolls in Paris. I was like, I might, yeah. I did Guys and Dolls in Paris. I wouldn't say I'm an international star, but yeah, I've performed in other countries, let's say that.
So that makes you an international star.
Well, maybe,
does it not?
Yeah. Well, I'm not exactly Bruno Mars, but we'll go with it. Yeah, it was great fun. To work
in my eyes, you're better than Bruno Mars.
Thank you, mate. Stephen Mear is an absolute dream. One of the most loveliest men in show business, and I was longing to work with him for a long time. And I finally did on Guys and Dolls, and it was a really lovely time. I spent most of my days in Disneyland Paris. Yeah, I'm a big kid, so I just love it, really.
I think we certainly see that from the videos you put up on Facebook.
I'm an idiot.
Yeah. But, no, I wouldn't say an idiot. That's not true. You're fun. You're definitely a lot of fun.
Thank you, mate. But Nicely was hard. Nicely was hard in this. He's the hardest vocal line in the show. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't say like he's the hardest sing ever, but he's not a nice sing. Do you know what
No.
I mean? Because he sits up in the rafters all the time, so you're having to kind of really look after your voice. So yeah, I didn't really drink a lot in Paris at all. Actually, I think the whole 3 months I had about 3 drinks maybe.
The driest show you've been on.
Yeah, I mean, not that I'm a massive drinker anyway.
No, I'm not saying that.
No, but you do, like, on a press night, you like to have a few drinks, have a good time, and I was just like, I can't. I was like, no.
No way, Jose.
This voice will not work tomorrow.
If I do, then I'm having day off tomorrow.
Then Stephen would have killed me, so...
Yeah, I can imagine. So Tom asks, what is your favourite song in Waitress other than ones that Ogie performs?
What Bacon Can Do.
There was no thought process there. It was just, you knew that one.
My favourite. I love it. I think it's such a beautiful song. I think it's quite fun as well, and I think how Sarah wrote it was just so clever, because it describes. It's just a really beautiful way that it marries Jenna's world with her mother, with her baking. Yeah. And I just think that's kind of the basis of the story. You know, if you said what was Waitress about, obviously you can go into finer detail, but actually it's about a woman that still remembers her mother, and the way that she remembers her mother is by how she bakes pies, which sounds like the most awful concept of a show. But then you put Diane Paulus and Sarah Bareilles together, and Jessie Nelson's book, and then you're like, oh, I see.
Then you get Waitress.
Now we have genius work. I get it. You know,
because it's the first musical completely written by a full female cast.
Crazy. It's crazy. You would have thought that would have happened easily in the late 90s, early 2000s. But yeah, when they told me that, I was like, what? I was like, that's ridiculous. I was like, come on. I was like, surely. I was like,
it was a pub quiz I heard at first. I was sitting just up in Scotland. I was in a pub quiz, and somebody asked, it was like 2 years ago, what was the first ever musical to be written by all females? And I said, I don't know exactly. And I'm like, I don't even remember what we answered, but it was an older one anyway. And somebody went Waitress, and I went, no. I said, I know that was written by all females, but that can't have been the first one.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, sure enough, I looked it up after and went, really?
No.
I couldn't believe it.
Well,
obviously,
215 or 216, you're just like, what? It's crazy.
Definitely, it's crazy. But I think it kind of helped with there's a lot of now film musicals springing up. I think from Waitress, a few before it, obviously, but there's kind of more now that are getting from films getting turned into movies.
Yeah.
To musicals, sorry.
Yeah.
So it kind of kicked off a trend, and obviously there's the all-female is kicking off as well because of it. You've obviously Sex. Okay, Tom's involved in Sex, but Sex is a big female musical.
And absolutely, it's about time. No, girl power, go for it, girls. Like, why not? I mean, I just think what's the important thing is that it doesn't. People can blame stuff on, I don't know, whether they're going for diversity or gender or whatever it is. At the end of the day, if your material's good, it's good. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's going to last the test, it's going to stand the test of time. Someone will see the potential and pick it up. You've just got to keep committing your time to it, and luckily you had a Grammy, nominated, well, Grammy award winning now, but Grammy nominated artist that was writing the music with Diane Paulus, who's like a Broadway heavyweight. I mean, she's a genius. She's an absolute. I worked with her for 3 hours, and she roasted me in the best possible way. But she did. She told me what she liked, what she didn't like, what she wanted. And some people can get very protective. But the fact is, Graham, you're there to do a job, and you're there to produce her vision of the show, not your own vision of the show. That's not your job as an actor, unless you are a creative consultant of some sort, and. They're amazing. I'm all for it.
Definitely have. I unfortunately never got to see Sarah. I did have tickets booked for her final performance, but she didn't get to do her final one.
I'm so sorry, Graham. That's so sad.
But hey ho, maybe another time. Maybe there's because I haven't seen you in it as Ogie either.
Oh, you were missing.
Again,
You're
you were
missing more
supposed to.
Sarah than you were from me, so it's fine. I'm good.
No, I'll see them eventually. There could be. We'll get to that again. There's a question at the end.
Oh, okay.
There's a
What is
question.
it? Are you doing the tour? Which most people keep asking me all the time.
Oh no, it's actually not. No.
I do not know. I do not know.
No, it's nothing to do with the tour. Actually, I forgot about the tour. No, somebody else asked another question. So that was quite easy with the song. What's your favourite song to perform then, as Ogie? Changes slightly then.
I guess Never Getting Rid, really. I mean, Table's great, but Table's also so short.
Yeah.
Whereas Never Getting Rid is just like, I mean, I loved and hated it at the same time because, oh my God, Matt Rowland, who is one of the swings on the show, lovely Matt Rowland, who's so talented. Matt Rowland was rehearsing Ogie, and I was upstairs. I'd just come in early, I think, and they were doing cover rehearsals, and he rehearsed Ogie, and he came up to me after and went, "How do you do Never Getting Rid every night?" He said, "I've just done it once," and he said, "And I'm knackered." I was like, "I know," and it's a very deceiving song. People think, he's because I'm off stage for an hour. It's really easy, and it's like actually sometimes it's sort of more tiring when you're not on that much, and more tiring when you're on all the time. If you're middle of the road, it's sort of fine, but when you're like sat in your dressing room for an hour, and then you've got to come on with this like ultimate burst of energy, that's really hard to get that spark. Do you know what I mean? To be like bing, and then because he is a firecracker. Like Ogie is. He's so excited. He's an excitable puppy. He just wants to be. He wants to be loved, and he knows what he wants, and everything's got to be right. And you have to try and play the strengths of all that. Those layers of that character. And God, it was Never Getting Rid was tiring. So
look at you. A lovable puppy actually is quite a good way of putting it because you do love him like Ogie, but at the same time, you're like, no, go away after a while because you're like, no, I've had enough. like I love you, but calm down a bit.
The one good thing that I remember Diane sort of saying, I think it was Diane that said to me, she was like, the thing is with Ogie, you want to make sure people realize that if they were with him for longer than like 20 minutes, they'd want to get rid of him. But because he's in the show in such beautiful ways, the audience can't wait for him and Dawn to come back on, if you get what I mean. So, they're not longing for Jenna to go away, but they're just like, because we're the only relationship, Dawn and Ogie are the only relationship that end up happy,
Yeah.
So that's, you don't really realise that, because it sort of has a bit of a happy ending, but it's kind of bittersweet. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being with a pie, but it is kind of bittersweet. So, yeah, she just gave me some little really good pointers that I was like, okay, I didn't think of it that way,
No, but definitely it's a bittersweet ending. That's definite, without a doubt. So another good answer. So Callum, he's asking, because he's about to step into a role. I don't know what it is, or he's not giving us any information, but he's about to step into a role that somebody else has been doing. So, as I say, don't know any more information than that, but is it hard to step into...
Where? Because what the hell is going on?
Maybe not recent, maybe not.
Are they looking for actors? I'm free. I'm available. Do you know what I mean? You're like every actor in the West End going, someone's doing a show? Where is it? I'll do it.
It is the UK, so it's maybe on pause or whatever. But he's obviously... He's saying he's stepping into a role. Is it hard to step into a role that other people have done?
Yeah, but it also depends on who's played that role. I think if you put all four of us Ogies next to each other, not only do we look so different,
completely,
we are so different. Like, we offer so many different things. Like, out of the four, they would probably say that I'm the singer. Do you know what I mean? Because of my musical theatre background, they'd be like, well, Joel's definitively the vocalist of the four. But then I also get annoyed at that because I'm like, but are you only saying I'm the vocalist because I'm the one that is known more as a singer? Whereas compared to Jack, who is like a comedy genius, like, his improvisational comedy is hilarious. I don't sort of do that because I can't. Well, I've never been put in a situation to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But also at the time that I came in, Diane came in and I did about 10 weeks as Ogie, and then she changed my Ogie completely. So there was also elements like that. I don't feel pressure. I just feel pressure that I have to do justice to the part and justice for the other three boys that played it before me. Because I think if anyone picked a character from Waitress that they loved the most, a lot of people would pick Ogie. Just because of how funny he is. I think it's not because it was me or Joe or anyone. Obviously the girls probably love Jenna or Dawn or whatever, but as a character, the minute you walk out of stage, they're like, oh my God, is it? Do you know what I mean? They just have that sort of essence of, you're the guy that made us laugh tonight. Do you know what I mean? And I think there is pressure to deliver that every night, no matter who's played it previously.
But I think I have a very strong opinion on celebrities in musicals. Now, you are a celebrity in the theatre world, but I'm talking likes of. I'll name names, but I'm not slagging them off.
I don't class myself as a celebrity in theatre world, but thank you.
Definitely are. Joe Montague is definitely a celebrity. But in this respect, I'm talking likes of like just Joe and Blake, who were great. I'm not slagging them off in any way whatsoever, but they're celebrities that were more well known for something else.
But also, like, and I could be controversial when I say this, but you've also got to look at the right celebrity. Like, if you look at Joe, all right, Joe's had no sort of musical theatre experience, but Joe, not only could he do the role, but he brought in so many people that would have never come to watch that musical if it wasn't for him being in it. So therefore, as a producer and as a person in the industry that's in some sense, you could say, kind of lost out to a role because of Joe and his celebrity factor, you have to kind of sit back and go, I don't own the show. I'm not paying for the show. And those people need a guaranteed bums on seats for that show to sell and for other people to be in work. It's the same way with Funny Girl, with Sheridan. Like, if Sheridan wouldn't have been part of that show, mate, that wouldn't have happened. That show wouldn't have sold out and happened the way it did. And they were really lucky that when, obviously, Shez was ill during that period, that they only lost around 6% of box office when Tash was on for that 10 weeks. That's luck. That's luck that they lost that much. Do you know what I mean? Like, normally, you'd think with someone as Sheridan's grandeur, you'd be like, no audience. And that's no disrespect to Tash at all, but we knew why we were all there. We were there because Sheridan Smith was above the theatre. People wanted to see her. Yes, it was nice to see a fat boy like me doing cartwheels, but at the end of the day, they wanted to see Sheridan Smith. She was the draw. And I think if you in your mind know that and are comfortable with that, I would long to be that position. But then I'm also never going to act like a knob. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I'm then responsible for people to stay in work. Because you are. When you're a name, your job is you're selling the show so all those people in that theatre can work. But I'd never use that against them. Not that anyone has, but I'd never use that against them in the same token. Do you know what I mean?
On the other hand, you also look at, obviously, Waitress, again, you weren't in it at the time, but it was hit with a lot of controversy when Dawn was switched.
Yeah.
And the fans actually kicked off dramatically because of that. And yes, okay, it was, again, to save the show, but that one backfired. It didn't really work.
Waitress is the prime example of how to and how not to.
Yes.
I'm not going to comment on who.
No, but I think I certainly know who you meant.
There were certain celebrities, and I think, if the management and whoever were honest, I think they would say that as well. I don't know if I should say that. I'm going to say it. I mean, at the end of the day, everyone makes right decisions and wrong decisions. That's part of the business. And I don't think I'm being insulting by saying that. Also, those same people, those same celebrities could suit some roles, but not others. And that happens a lot as well. So I think, I would always say Waitress is a really good example, but I also feel that's part of the reason why Waitress got snubbed a bit at the Olivier's, because I felt like there was that many cast changes that you never saw the same cast. And
unless you like me and going 2 or 3 times a week.
Well, yeah, but what a shame. What a shame to have not seen, a consistency of how the show grew with one cast. And, maybe they couldn't do that. Maybe it wasn't possible. But I was on, I think when Natasha came to be the new Becky from Marisha, I think that was our 14th cast change. And we'd been gone, I think we were 3 weeks over a year.
So Marisha left 3 weeks after.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of cast change. For your principal cast, that's a lot of cast changes. And when I came in, me and Hannah, we were the biggest one. There were 7 of us that came in.
And I remember I was there the closing night for a lot of, because that's the night Lucy left.
Yeah, that was the biggest cast change. So it was crazy because it was like, oh my God, we've not even made it a year and we're on like cast 12. There's an element of that, I think, where maybe like if they were upset that they didn't get awards and whatever, probably that was because of the reason, because there was no sort of consistency. And I think there's a lot to be said about that,
Yes, no, definitely. And what I was, the kind of moral of the story for me was, what I was getting with celebrity-wise was, if it works, it's brilliant. So I mean, like, casting-wise, if it works, it's brilliant. But there are certain, and it's not just Waitress, I'm not getting just at Waitress here, there are other musicals that it has worked and other musicals that it hasn't.
Loads has worked. I mean, some people could turn around and say, obviously, because Sheridan wasn't very well, that it didn't work for Funny Girl. Of course it worked for Funny Girl. Massively worked for Funny Girl, because who else has Sheridan's sort of stature in the UK industry that could sell out? She sold out the Chocolate Factory, a 5-month run of the Chocolate Factory, in an hour. She sold out in an hour. Like, that's the quickest this ever happened. And then we were walking into the Chocolate Factory on week 2 of rehearsals, and they've already promoted that we were going to town. It's never happened. But that's because of one person. Yeah. That's incredible. When someone has that much power, in the sense of their name has that much power and reputation, you can't fight that, Graham. You can't even, I can't fight that. I've got to have millions of Twitter followers to fight a name like that. But there's no chance. It's so hard when you get those big, massive names. It's always going to work in one sense,
Definitely, it works and it doesn't work. That's what I was really getting at. And it all goes in if the casting's right.
Yeah.
If it's casted for the right role.
Absolutely.
So Jessie, she asks, were you shocked at the following that Falsettos had before the show started?
Yeah. I didn't. Really
that was its first major run in the UK.
Yeah, I didn't know about it. I mean, I knew of the show. Mm-hmm. I didn't know about how crazy the fans were. I also think, though, that what helped was the new Broadway cast recording. I think that really helped the Falsettos, Clownsettos, whatever you want to call them, grow. Yeah. Because obviously that was for a different generation of people. But I only found that out when we did the show, and the show was crazy. The show was great. It was amazing, and it was crazy, and it was hard. But it was. I look back at it with a lot of joy.
Definitely, it was a great show for me. Definitely.
Loved it.
So David, he wants some advice.
Okay.
Okay. So he might be doing. He didn't say might, but I'll put it in inverted commas. Doing his first pantomime in December.
Lovely.
And he's playing the Prince. Do you have any tips for kissing a girl on stage and not getting embarrassed?
Yeah, just kiss them normally. There's no difference to what it is. Like, everyone goes on about stage and I'm like, you're just kissing someone. I mean, I also think this is one of these, it's also like I have this sort of beef as well with, like, when other halves are in shows and they don't really understand. I'm like, you can kiss someone and it doesn't mean anything. It's pretty simple. Not that you do that on the street in a club and just randomly kiss someone, but you are playing a character and you're put in a very different situation. So obviously when I kissed Hannah or Evie, who've both got other halves, it was never, I never felt, oh, they're going to be, you can't think like that. You have to just go, I'm playing Ogie. We didn't go off stage and kiss in the wings. Do you know what I mean? Like, we only kissed when we had to.
Yeah, at the time.
The one thing that's quite funny is I always talk about which way my head leans. I do that before we go, which way you turn your head, because the last thing you want to do is go and hit. So it just becomes easy then. Then it's like logistics of going, you going that way? Yeah, cool. Oh, fine, great. So then you know. But sometimes it was hilarious. Like sometimes Hannah would completely forget which way our heads were turning before the kiss. So she just like on the, the bit on the chair, on the sex bit on the chair. Yes. Oh my God, just like knock my hat, and I'd be like, "You are an idiot." We just laugh. So yeah, and then she'd be like,
"That's the bits that I love."
It was hilarious, and she come up and she's like, "Babe, I just kissed the side of your mouth," and I was like, "I know."
I know. I felt it.
I know. Well done. I know.
No, I see the other kind of scenes you live as an audience member. You live for in live theatre, because that's why I love live theatre over TV, because anything can happen and anything will happen. Like that's the thing.
Absolutely.
Definitely. So I'm hoping David got some good advice. Just go for it. Yeah. So obviously you worked on in Falsettos. We've gone over that, but there was a strong kid part in Falsettos. There was obviously the 4 lads who played Jason.
Yeah.
What were the kids like? He saw one of them.
Awful. Didn't like working with them. Weren't nice. Next question. I'm joking. No, I'm joking.
I'm like.
James, Elliot, George, and Albert. Yeah, they were a dream, mate. They were brilliant. Very, very good boys. All 4 of them. Very talented. Had a lot of time for them. They were great. And funny enough, actually, me and James we did a workshop in February together again, actually, which was really nice. And he was brilliant in that. I can't really kind of talk any of them over the others, because they all had something different to offer the role. And I always think it's actually quite unfair, because they're all put into the show very differently. Like I think Elliot and Albert were our first 2. So they got quite a bit of attention, because obviously it was like we were trying to get the show up and whatever. And so they were having to redo things. It wasn't anything against George and James, but it was kind of like we had to get a version of the show, you know. And us as adults were like, we need to use like the same 2, just so we know what we're doing. And then when George and James come on, because we know what we're doing, we can guide them through the show. Not a problem. Like it's easier to have 6 actors that know what they're doing on one male, one boy actor that's a bit unsure. But 9 times out of 10, the kids knew the show left, right, and centre. They knew it like the back of their hand, and more so than we did. Luckily, I didn't get any lyrics wrong. Oh my God, everyone hates his parents. I used to have a panic attack. I used to have a panic attack about that, and Laura used to have a panic attack about breaking down. Because our stuff was very wordy. Our stuff was very, very wordy all the time. So yeah, that was that. But the kids were brilliant. Kids were great.
Yeah, no, the kids. We've actually, I don't know if you've seen our Twitter and stuff.
James, haven't you? Nominated James?
Yeah, this was a panel. We personally, we didn't have anything to do with it. We got a panel of audience members, and they've nominated James as because that was the one they remember that sticks out, because he was also the youngest. James was the youngest.
Yeah, he was great.
He was the youngest boy. So we've actually got an interview with him as well. Because he's been nominated, he said he would do an interview. So we've got him next week. We've not got a date set yet, but he's been. So he's great. His mum's hilarious. Like,
yeah,
I've only talked to her on the phone, but she's an absolute scream.
I mean, yeah, she literally is like just talks at you.
Oh, she's lovely.
I was like, yeah. Annie, just stop to breathe. You know what I mean? But she's lovely. Yeah, they all are. They're a lovely family.
Yeah, but so that's no. He got nominated in supporting actor. So I was great to phone him and let him know that.
Oh, bless him.
No, definitely was. He was very tough.
I'm just gonna say, like, I was rude that I didn't get nominated. So you want to say
that's why I said it had nothing to do with us.
Livid. Just be like, how dare you? How dare you, James, take my nomination from me? Awful. Unbelievable.
Well, okay. So actually, because it's talking about that, we've actually caused other controversy because, No, not a proper one, just a funny one. Amy Atkinson and do you know Tom Gribby, Agent Gribby? He was the producer of Pirate Queen.
Right. Okay.
They're currently staying together in lockdown, and they've been nominated in the same category.
Oh, rude.
For best one-off performance.
Wow.
So they're having a wee kind of internal fight because they're
hilarious.
So I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. So that's quite funny. So moving on, Melinda says, was there a lot of pressure on you and the rest of the cast working with the writer of the songs?
As with Sarah?
Yes.
Waitress.
Sorry, yeah, on Waitress, yeah, sorry.
I was like scared to death when I first started never getting rid in front of her. But Sarah's not bothered because Sarah's so wonderful and lovely as a human. I think she felt more pressure on her, actually. You know, it's the first time she was in London. She was playing the lead role. It's a lot. People are expecting a lot from her, and you know. But I think it wasn't necessarily pressure. She just enjoyed it.
Yeah,
she really enjoyed. Her and Gavin really enjoyed it, and I think, you know, if they weren't enjoying it, they would have gone back after 6 weeks, and they didn't. They wanted to stay the extra 2.
There was the extended extra. They didn't get to do the full 2 weeks. They obviously with the coronavirus, but because I had that Saturday night. But anyway, we'll not go in there. We'll not go down that road.
That would have been a crazy night. That would have been a crazy night then.
For closing out of them. But James, he wants to know, not James' nomination, different James. Different James. What's the hardest musical you've ever been in?
School of Rock. As
Why?
Dewey. As the other one, as the teacher, easiest job in the world. As Dewey, hardest job in the world. Yeah.
A lot of fun, surely.
Yeah, fun, but hard. He was like a train wreck. He would just go and go and go and go. And I think they've also found it hard to get Deweys that are fit enough to do it. Because actually Dewey's got to be a bit bigger. He's got a slob. So to try and get bigger guys that have the fitness to do that whole show, vocally, physically, and I think that's kind of where my dance background helped me a lot, because I can move around quite quickly for a big guy. So yeah, Dewey.
There we go. Dewey's a great character. School of Rock's a fantastic musical.
Yeah, it's
absolutely a fantastic musical. It's a great film, but as a musical, it just worked. And obviously, the kids all played their own instruments, didn't they?
Yeah, that really helped you, didn't it? You know, I wasn't really a guitarist. I had to sort of learn how to play guitar. And then when you've got a 12, 13-year-old next to you that's literally like Jimi Hendrix, you just feel so, you just
deflated.
Feel that small, you know. But the kids were lovely.
Why bother? Chuck the guitar away.
I know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's a bit of a controversial one for the next one. Okay. But controversial in respects of it hit the news in respects of theatre news, not 10 o'clock news or anything. So Scott asks, what's your opinion on non-Jewish people playing the Jews in falsettos? Because there was some comments made about it.
I didn't respond to any, but I was getting to the point where I was about to knock someone out, because at the end of the day, we're actors. Mm-hmm. When should religion become, you know, when you audition for a show, you can't be asked what your religion is. It's illegal, you know, and then to someone to go, well, you're not Jewish, you can't play that role. I'm like, well, all right, well, you're not a Christian then, or you're not an atheist, or you're not from Senegal, or you're not from Australia. Like, when is it a thing that you can't play characters? They're a character. You know, they're not a real person. It's not like you're asking me to play Ava Peron, who is actually a real person. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? She can't. You know what I mean? Like, and I just find it ridiculous. The thing is, what gets me with falsettos and the Jewish community, they're like, it's our show, and I'm like, you're wrong. No show is your show. It just happened to be written by a Jewish writer who talked about his own experience. That's where it comes from. Yeah. Yes, yes, they have a bar mitzvah. Yes, I remember some people were slating the bar mitzvah And we were like, it's a bar mitzvah in a hospital. It's not going to be proper. They have the bar mitzvah in the hospital because Wizard is dying. Do you know what I mean? They're not going to have some full-out celebration in a hospital ward. It was just, people didn't think outside the box and didn't think, they were going to grab things and grab the Torah and grab a candle, or, do you know what I mean? They weren't going to have the proper things. They were just going to do whatever they could.
Because Wizard was dying.
Because Jason wanted Wizard present, and it really upset me, because I was like, it might upset you in your religion, but it upset me to not think that, the Jewish community is massively important, but someone dying of AIDS is just as important. And we were showing that characters, a family grasped together, took everything they could just so that person could experience that moment. And that is what that moment is about. They focus so much on the bar mitzvah, and I'm like, but I'm sorry that, you have to think of the reason why the bar mitzvah is being done. That's the key in that moment of the show, not a bar mitzvah. If it was a bar mitzvah, it would have just been done like a proper bar mitzvah. And, I don't know the technicalities of things, because, like I say, I'm not Jewish, and this is why it's easy for me to say, oh, well, you're not Jewish, you can say that. Yeah, but I also had a lot of backlash because I wasn't Jewish. And I don't want to insult any community or any religion or any race, because I think, one thing I learned is Jewish people see themselves as a race, not as a religion. And I found that very interesting. But I think that sort of dates back, obviously, to Hitler and 6 million Jews that got killed just because they were Jewish. I mean, who does that? Like, who thinks that they are above the law to do that? It's absolutely disgusting. But to take ownership of a show, I don't agree with. Does every Californian American girl take ownership of Legally Blonde? No. You could argue any factor. Oh, well, Falsettos is Jewish. No, it's written by a Jewish writer. Leonard Bernstein was a Jewish writer, but he wrote West Side Story. He wrote On the Town. Does every sailor take ownership of On the Town because it's got sailors in it? No. So just appreciate that it's a story. And whether we're Jewish or not, why does it really matter? But then they'd say, well, it won't matter to you because I'm not Jewish. Still doesn't matter to me. That means that everyone can't play. Non-Jewish people can't play Jewish, and then Jewish people can't play non-Jew characters then.
Yeah, you're getting into a whole mix of things. That's the thing, that's the whole point in acting, is to act something you're not.
Well, they're slimming themselves down, Graham, because if a whole thing like it did kicked off, I'll tell you it was Adam Lenson, and I don't care that I mentioned his name. Adam Lenson really attacked the show. And I know Adam, I've done a workshop with Adam before, and I like Adam, I get on with him, but the way he attacked the show, and then he kept going, so then it attacked the people in the show. And although he didn't say anything personally about me or any of the other actors, you're doing a show every night, you're trying to tell an emotional story, and yet a peer of yours in some sort of capacity is just slating it. And you're like, dude, you've made your point. Yeah. Go away. I don't want to hear it anymore. And that was, I've not really talked about that. None of us have, but it's got to the point now where I'm like, you can't, especially with everything that's happened with George Floyd and, having Black Lives Matter and all these things that are going on. You're like, there's bigger things in the world than non-Jewish people playing Jewish people in a musical. There's just bigger things. And
I go to a theatre to get away from real life. I don't sit in a seat and think, do you know what? You're not Jewish. Or, to me, actually, Falsettos is more of an LGBT musical.
Yeah, but it can be whatever you want it to be. Yeah. Falsettos covers so many bases. You can be what you want it to be, but to take ownership of that, to be like, it's purely for us? No. Well, if it's purely for you, then why does anyone want to do that musical then? If you can't tell that story to other people.
The thing was, I don't think Fiddle on the Roof got that backlash either. And there was a lot of actors in that weren't Jewish, and I'm like, why are you not getting the backlash?
Well, because also it's kind of like what you're saying then. If we would have had one Jewish actor, it would have been fine. But then when you argued that we just had a token Jewish actor in it, it didn't matter that none of us were Jewish. It didn't matter if 3 of us were Jewish and 8 of us weren't. It didn't matter to us. It didn't matter.
You still did well.
And I got that, and I understood that. I was like, I understand that you wanted representation, and I appreciate that. But what do you want? Did you want everyone Jewish? No, well then what ratio do you want Jewish then? Because also the director was just like, I cast the best people in the role.
100%. Yeah, that's the whole. That's all you can do.
And,
unless, as you said earlier, it's somebody that's real and it actually did exist. Then that's different. You have to cast them to as close to that person as possible.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Tina Turner. You would have to cast that person.
But I
as
just
a black actor.
I just don't have time with it, because actually what you're setting yourself up for is you're setting yourself up. Well, I mean, I won't go into the story too much, but basically I know on good authority that Jewish actors auditioned for the show and didn't get it. But they didn't get it because they were Jewish. Like, that wasn't the reason. They didn't get it because there was just better people for the role. And that is it. And so then to start some sort of ridiculous argument that, well, there's no Jewish representation, so this isn't a fair representation of the show. Come on. Like, it's ridiculous. I mean, all right, then what? So has every character in Lion King got to be an actual animal? Yeah, like, how far do we go? Like, how far do we go with this argument? It's got no argument to me. I appreciate that they wanted Jewish representation, whether that be in the creative team or on stage. I fully support that and appreciate that. And we had a Jewish consultant. Now, if they wanted more representation, absolutely, that's their opinion, and I understand, because I wouldn't get that because I'm not from a Jewish community. But to basically, for one person to basically attack the show consistently through its whole run, dude, I haven't got that. Especially
up here. Especially somebody that is an actor and has done, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it also just came across as silly, Graham. It came across as silly and bitter, and I was just like, you're just doing yourself a disfavour. You know, you're just doing yourself a disservice.
Does more damage than the show. Yeah. And the show, as you saw, didn't affect the show.
Well, a lot of people loved it, and if a lot of people loved it, then sorry, you were obviously wrong. People loved it. Fans of the show loved it. You know, when
as a show, it was fantastic. I didn't care who was playing the. Well, I cared about the past, but
yeah, and I remember most nights I'd see like a young lesbian couple on the front row who must have been like 16, 17, who might have just come out to their parents or whatever, and I was just like, what you're saying about us not being Jewish is absolutely nothing to do with the message of this show. And obviously, if that's what you think it is, then you don't know the show, because that's the difference. Listening to the show and reading the book is very different than actually putting on the show itself and being involved in the creative process. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But you can't...
I think it would have worked. The show would have worked in any religion. I think, okay, obviously it wouldn't because it was the writer's story, but and obviously the writer was Jewish, but it wasn't the fact that they were Jewish that the story worked. It would have worked in Christianity, Muslims. The religion didn't matter.
Anyway.
It was the fact that it was a religion, and there was the controversy of him splitting up with his wife because he was gay, and the whole different, and the family coming together and not coming together at times, and
absolutely.
So there was more pressing issues. But anyway, moving on, because we could talk about that for hours. Katie, she's a fan of yours, and she's from the USA.
Oh wow! Okay.
And she has never seen you live. But she wants to know, will she ever see you on Broadway?
I mean, if someone wants to hire me, yeah. I don't know. I'd love to. Broadway's always been a very big dream of mine. So yeah, hopefully one day, Katie, I will be, but we shall see.
At the moment, not.
No, not at the moment. Not that I know of.
I think she's inside it.
It's all right.
Somebody's Facebook phoning me. Go away.
Mm-hmm.
No, hang up. Yeah, sorry, Robbie.
That's all right.
That's right. It's easy way. Right, okay. Sorry, moving on. Only a few more to go, don't worry. So, now we've come to the. I think we've covered the fact that they're Jewish, but Falsettos was a groundbreaking musical. Whatever you think for the LGBT and the Jewish community. As it shows what it was like to grow up in the 70s and 80s as a gay Jew.
Yeah.
Obviously, there was a lot more, but this is what we're looking at the moment. What do you think was the biggest challenge to bring that specific story to the forefront? And that was from Fred, sorry. That's that.
I tell you what I think. I think some of the people that had the biggest jobs were probably people like Ollie and Gemma and Tash, because actually they're heterosexual. So to then try and play again, that's kind of like leaning back to the Jewish thing. They're not Jewish, but actually they're not gay. So then should they play those sort of characters? You know, but Ollie, in my opinion, and both the girls were great, but Ollie was phenomenal.
Yeah, he was.
You know, he is pretty and beautiful and that, but you know, he isn't gay in real life. So
I found that out the hard way. I can assure you.
Yeah, to find that, he found that really hard, because I remember he told me, him and Dan and Matt McKenna shared a dressing room, we were talking about this one day, and Ollie just said, like, the one thing I don't want to do is insult, you know, the gay culture and the gay community by being a straight man. But he felt a lot of pressure to deliver it, but he wasn't aloof. He wasn't aloof, and he wasn't camp, and you know, he wasn't. He was just, he was a little bit dramatic at points, but you know, I mean,
we're all in the gay community. Let's be honest.
Let's be honest. You know, you're wearing a sequin jacket, girl. So you know, you got to be like.
Trying to save it my jacket.
But you got to have elements, and I think he hit the mark really well, and to bringing it to the forefront. To be honest, I think there's communities. Obviously, we've got a long way to go, but generally, communities are a lot more accepting now of people's differences. And so I think, you know, a show in 2019 about the LGBTQI+, IA+. I
just say LGBTQ+, that's what I say.
Oh, 2+, okay.
I don't go into the rest.
But yeah, I think it was developed very well. I think it was performed brilliantly, and I don't think anyone was insulted by it. Well, I don't think anyone from that community was insulted by it.
I certainly was. I felt it was a great representation. It was a great.
So what more is there to ask for as a cast member? There's nothing more to ask for, you know. So yeah, that's what I felt about that one, definitely.
No, that's it. So that's good. So Olivia, she's asking. She said first, commented. She says, unfortunately, she never saw you in Waitress, because our ticket got cancelled. A bit like me. A bit like a lot of us. Can you give us a sneak peek of Never Getting Rid of Me?
Oh God, I will never let you leave. I promise I'm not lying. Go ahead, ask anybody who will see me trying. I'm not going. If you think like I did, that I'll be waiting outside. I mean, I even got the words wrong. Like, this is what I mean. I've been out of it for so long.
You improvised.
I'm gonna do this right, show her I'm not moving. Wherever you go, I want me far to follow. And so on.
I was just imagining you there, you know, dancing around the diner.
Yeah, Opie was one of my favorites. I loved him. I love talking like this. My housemate, Daniel, he's from the South. So he helped me for my audition. So I knew if I didn't get that accent right, he would be on me.
He'd be on it.
Really would be, but yeah.
Yeah, he has one of the best lines. He has a lot of good lines, but the best one is obviously it's probably the least kid-friendly moment. Is obviously he's dressed in the battle regalia on the chair.
Yeah.
Just that scene there is just. Apart from that, was the only scene I couldn't watch with Joe because he was just looked too innocent.
The British are coming. The British.
The British are coming. The British are coming. Obviously, for the kids, it went whoosh. If there were any kids in the audience, it did go over their heads, which was good. But that was just
the best time. Do you know the best thing with that is? I mean, obviously, me and Hannah and Evie, we laughed quite a bit when Olivia Moore went on for Dawn the first time with me. She just laughed the whole time in that scene, like was in my face while I was bouncing on my knee, laughing, just crying with laughter. We lost it. Because we weren't even laughing at anything. It was just that situation of we'd never done it before. Like, so you're that close with someone. You're simulating sex on stage with a person that you kind of know just to give a hug. Hi, how are you? And me and Liv were quite close. But obviously Liv was dating Piers, who's in the cast. So there is an element that you're like, oh my God, we're about to simulate sex on a chair, on stage in front of 1,200 people, and we've never rehearsed it. Never. So we just laughed. There was nothing else to do but laugh. What could you do? Just laugh the whole time.
Definitely. That scene, I've seen it a few times in, obviously, quite a few times, I would say, but that scene specifically, there was one of the times I remember, I think it was when Joe was on, I can't remember if it was Joe or Blake, but one of them anyway. And at the end, obviously, Lucy has to come out and back as if she's coming into the dining room. I should say Jenna, anyway, should I say. But it was Lucy, obviously, that played it. And she could not get herself pulled back. Like, that's what I look for. Like, she's normally very professional and everything, and she can. But at that one night, she just physically couldn't. You could see it. She wasn't laughing or anything, but you just can't. In her head, she's going, I can't do this at the moment. So she just turned, and obviously it's no Errol. Joe? What's the old man's name? It's Joe, isn't it?
Yeah, Charlie.
Charlie, yeah.
He
was sitting at the table, and he went, Can I help you, dear? Obviously, I'd live in, and she went, No, I'm fine now. And then she kicked back in, but she just couldn't get a hold of it. It was great. But as I say, they're the bits that you enjoy because, as an audience member, because you just know it's some people are annoyed because it was not professional, but it's live theatre. It's going to happen. You know what I mean? Things are going to go wrong.
That is absolutely what happened as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely what happened. But yeah, it is great fun. I do love it.
No, definitely. Just got a few more questions. Just a couple more from the fans and then a few from us. Rebecca asks, what spin did you put on Ogie that you added yourself? So did you add anything that the other guys didn't, basically?
I don't know. I don't really think I did, but I think what I did do was I probably gave Ogie a different look because I'm a bigger guy. And Ogie's normally played by someone like Joe, tiny and small. But I think I came into the audition and they sort of didn't expect this sort of big burly guy. And I just kind of used the vulnerability of my size. And it was really nice, actually, because like they said to me, I had to really learn about really pulling back Ogie because the more I gave, the more aggressive I looked as an Ogie because I was just of my size. It wasn't what I was saying. It was just, you've got a tiny Dawn and me. So, it's kind of like, Wreck-It Ralph. It was like Wreck-It Ralph and Veronica. It was like that. It was like that sort of parent. So then you had to kind of use the vulnerability. But I think, hopefully I achieved it. So, yeah, I think I did.
Yeah. Well, I unfortunately personally can't comment, but certainly the reviews preceded you. That's definitely the reviews that you're getting. So Rob, the last question from fans is just, I think one that a lot of the fans are wanting to know. Obviously, with what's happening at the moment, obviously we can't 100% confirm or say anything. But Rob wants to know: is there any chance of a small extension of after lockdown of Waitress? Because obviously the theatre's still there, and College always been postponed.
Not that I know of. I don't know. I've not heard anything. I mean, never say never. There might be, because obviously if theatres start to reopen, Waitress might just turn around and say, actually, let's go in for 3 months before, and then maybe take it on tour later. I think the tour's supposed to be happening in November, but again, no one knows whether that's definitely happening or not. As in, I know it's definitely going to happen, but whether it's going to be at that time, I don't know. I mean, I don't see why it would make sense if obviously Dolly's going to be delayed till 2022. Then, the Adelphi might want a show in there, but obviously there might be other bookings that come in and go, well, Waitress won't really sell. Even if we brought Waitress back, it wouldn't really sell. Maybe there would be more of a show that would. So I don't know.
We'll wait and see. I thought that would be the answer, to be honest, but as Rob asked, I thought better ask. Anyway, that kind of brings us to the end of the fans' questions. Just a couple more questions from us. What I like to call the West End Talks quickfire round.
Okay.
So just a couple of questions. You don't have to answer them quick fire. You can have a think, but just more about you rather than the characters again. So, what's your favourite musical theatre song? Not necessarily one that you perform. It can be, but not necessarily one you perform.
Do you know, it's a really hard question because I've never really asked what my favourite musical theatre song is. I don't know what's my favourite musical. Favourite musical of all time is West Side Story. Favourite musical theatre song? Oh, gosh, what would it be? That's really hard. I don't want to pick something generic either. What do I have? I'm trying to think. There's too many, Graham, to choose from. There's far too many songs to choose from.
This is why we want to give you a pre-warning.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't. Do you know what? There's too many. There's far too many. I don't know which one I could just listen to on repeat. I guess I do love. I do love Shrek, but I'm only listening to Shrek at the moment. I have like fits of things. So shall I just say? Shall I be really generic? And I'll say, "You Will Be Found" from Dear Evan Hansen. Let's just go with that. That's really boring and generic, but we'll go with that.
Can I tell you, it's my answer too at the moment, because it means a lot at the moment. That's the thing. So what would your dream role be? So forget age, gender.
There's so many. There's so many that I'd love to do. I don't
name a few.
There's a dream. I'd love to probably, while I'm still on the younger tip of the scale, I'd probably love to do Damien in Mean Girls. I'd probably love to do. I'd love to have a crack at Beetlejuice because he's crazy.
Yes.
There's loads of them. You know. But not just those two. I'd love to originate a role, and maybe something that's not even been created. You know, who knows?
Yeah. We kind of talked about that in one of the previous chats. There's going to be lots of musicals springing up, new musicals springing up here and everywhere at the moment.
Yeah.
But you obviously said you said earlier in the chat that you had done a workshop. So I'm assuming that's something original. Obviously, I'm not looking to know information, but workshops, you don't workshop a thing that's already been done.
Yes.
That's obviously an original thing.
I don't know whether we can say it actually, but it was a very, very exciting concept. What it was. I don't know whether I should say it, so I don't think I can, because I think technically if I signed contracts and accepted money, you can't actually say what it is. But it was a very good concept, and it was a film. But it will be beautiful. If it goes ahead, I think it will be very beautiful. Whether I'll be doing it, I don't know. But it was definitely a beautiful workshop to be part of.
Good. Do you have a dream gender bend role?
Yes, Alban in Lacage. Yeah, I'd love to play Alban. Alban and Zaza. I'd love to play that part.
That's a good one. Yes.
Because I'm camp anyway, so it helps. I just love Lacage. I think it's a great show.
Fantastic.
What else is there? Yeah, I think Trunchbull as well. I'd love to do Trunch at some point if I could. So yeah.
I think you'd be quite good at Trunchbull, actually. Trunchbull and Beetlejuice, I can definitely see as Beetlejuice. And that's obviously in talks of coming over, or rumours of coming over anyway. Not
and there's not just me, there's a lot of good boys that can play Beetlejuice. So, you know.
Only a handful that I could think of. You'd give them a top run for your money. Two more questions. What's your last question? What's your top 5 shows? Not necessarily ones you've been in, just your top 5 shows.
Top 5 shows: West Side Story.
Yeah.
Hamilton. Lipper's Wild Party.
Oh.
What else do I love? Come on. Spamalot, I guess. I love Spamalot.
Yeah, I do like a bit of Spamalot.
What else was there? Do you know what? I'm going to say Waitress, because when I watched it, I loved Waitress. I really loved it before I even did it.
Waitress is a good musical, definitely is. So that brings us towards the end. Just one last thing that we get you to do at the end. Have you heard of the Ice Bucket Challenge?
Yes.
Yes. Right. Don't worry, we're not going to ask you to put ice over your head. But at the end of that, so you did the Ice Bucket Challenge and you had to nominate somebody.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is we're doing the West End Talks nomination.
Okay.
So all we ask is you publicly on the video nominate somebody to go through the same pain you've just been through. And then once you finish the chat, go onto Twitter and just put, just in my talk with West End Talks, now it's your turn, and tag whoever it is that you...
Okay.
So who would you like? It can be anyone from theatre.
So I nominate Bradley Jaden, Alice Fern, and David Hunter.
Fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. That's great. So get them all tagged then, try and get them in to do some talks then. That'd be fantastic. Because it's all obviously a need of charity. And that brings us to the end and the last bit for you guys at home. Obviously, me and Joel did have fun. Well, I'd like to hope Joel had fun anyway.
I did.
That's good. But we're not just here for fun. We're here to raise money for Acts and for Others. And anything at all you can do, even anything as little as you can, whatever you can afford, just pop it in the there'll be a link in the bio. Pop it in there to go straight to Acts and for Others. That's why we're here, to help these guys out, not just at the moment, but all year round. Acts and for Others helps.
Bless you. It's a great cause.
But that's us at the end. Join us next time, you guys, where we'll have Martin Callahan, who you'll know recently from Curtains, the musical, the tour, and he was the Golden Buzzer in Portugal's Got Talent this year. So join us then, and we'll discuss all that. But thank you very much, Joel, for joining us.
Thank you,
It's
mate.
been an absolute pleasure talking to you today, and take care.
Thanks,
guys.
mate. Lots of love, Graham. Bye.
I don't get it. I don't understand. In the 60s, everyone had heart.